Today is a day to honor those individuals and their families. We want to support all our employees who are grieving, as we are all grieving. We know there's more information to come about this incident, but today is about our employees and their families. It is about people. I have spoken to the families of all the 9 families. I'm not going to go into details about my calls. All the families are in pain, but we are here to help.
That was VTA Board Chairman Glenn Hendricks emotionally remembering his 9 colleagues whose lives were ended yesterday in another tragic mass shooting, this one at a rail yard in San Jose, California. As we still await more details as to the motive, the shooting has reignited yet again and again the call for gun reform, President Biden urging Congress to pass stricter gun laws. The House passed legislation requiring background checks. It's seemingly dead in the Senate. There is a surprising bipartisan effort, however, that could lead to a deal. Joining us now to talk about that, Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey, a former federal prosecutor, U.S. Navy pilot, and now a member of the Armed Services Committee. You know, I was on the air when the news conference after this shooting came on, and Governor Newsom was so striking in his blunt talk about the numbness and the sameness and the rinse and repeat of mass shootings. And the conversation on the Hill seems so fruitless, is it?
Well, it's hard, Nicole, to keep coming on shows like this to talk about we've passed universal background checks in the House. We've closed the Charleston loophole in the House. We've closed the boyfriend loophole in the House. You know, at some point, it becomes apparent that that's not going to cut it, right? We need the Senate. We need 10 senators, 10 out of 50, 10 Republican senators to say, my kids, our kids, the nation's kids are more important than their own self-interest. We need 10 Republican senators to come forward with courage to say that this level of gun violence, putting people in fear, and, you know, as the president would say, families who are never going to see a loved one again, this has to end. And we all go to the marches and we all hear the stories and we hear from families and we hear those one-off shootings that go on too many times in some of our cities. And then we hear the mass shootings that go on everywhere. We just had one last weekend in South Jersey. I mean, this happens again and again and again. And how it's come to the point where we can't find 10 senators to just, at the bare minimum, say, we're going to pass universal background checks. We're going to make sure that people that have no mental health issues and might commit suicide, and people that are on the terrorist watch list, people that abuse women, they're not going to have access to firearms. How is that such a heavy lift?
What is the dynamic that makes this issue immune to public opinion when you've got 85%, I think, that support the universal background check? You've got large majorities that support closing gun show loopholes. A lot of, I think it's like 80% of women, and I think it's another majority issue to close the boyfriend loophole. I mean, why is this issue immune to such overwhelming public opinion in support of reform?
So I think what's happening in this country is we are becoming more and more anti-majoritarian. So we see with the Electoral College, the popular vote doesn't always prevail. We see even with the Senate itself that every state gets 2 senators, even if you're in a state like New Jersey with the most densely populated state in the nation, you only get 2. So we become more and more anti-majoritarian, and we see a tyranny now of the minority. We're seeing that not only do we have the Electoral College, do we have the Senate, but now we have the filibuster. So again and again and again, you don't have the will of the people being carried out by our Congress. And you see that things that are really bipartisan, not just a majority of the people in the country, but very bipartisan in so many of our districts, like gun safety legislation, for example, are not bipartisan on the Hill. And it really has become something that you see again and again and again. The will of the people is not being carried out in Washington.